Piracy. Every year, hundreds of miners, traders and industrial workers of the verse fall victim to the scourge of piracy. Innocent lives and billions of UEC are lost in this vicious criminal act. Despite the best efforts of government and corporate security forces, these tragedies continue on a near-daily basis. What can we do as an industrial worker to avoid being a victim of piracy? How do we keep ourselves safe when working in remote sectors of space? How do we ensure that we return home with our equipment, our vessel, and most importantly, our lives intact? In this video series, we will explore the tactics and techniques employed by pirates. We will examine their motives, their modus operandi, and common hunting grounds. We will look at how they choose their victims and what you, as a hard-working citizen, can do to keep yourself safe from their fiendish schemes. Join us as we explore piracy and the industrial worker.
This series is produced in part by AMR Mining and Reclamation. From deep space prospecting to subterranean asset recovery, let our professionals handle the risk so you can concentrate on the results. AMR Mining and Reclamation. We are what you need us to be.
What is piracy? UEE law defines piracy as the wanton and unlawful use of force to extort and deprive others of material and wealth by boarding or ransoming any vessel, with an intent to commit any crime, and with an intent or capacity to use force in furtherance of that act. For you, as an industrial worker, this often means being held by force by armed combatants, demanding payment for your release, or worse, being attacked violently in order to disable or destroy your vessel so that your cargo may be pillaged. The best place to protect yourself from this violence is long before the act of piracy begins, by making yourself a hard target. These best management practices come from decades of experience and will enable you to avoid the vast majority of the pirate threat. In the worst circumstances, these techniques will help you survive with your ship, your dignity and your life intact. Let us cover the three broad categories of piracy you may encounter in the verse. By understanding the threat, we better understand how we respond. Extortion. The first form of piracy we will explore is extortion. Extortion is a common form of piracy and most often takes the form of a group of hostile ships holding an industrial vessel at risk and demanding payment for safe passage. Research has shown that pirates tend to target freighters and miners with valuable loads who are less likely to abandon their vessel when held at risk. Scouts will often lurk near major trade hubs to identify freighters being unloaded and then set a blockade en route to the next likely port of call. Hijacking and ransom. As in films and stories of old, this is the act people often think of when they say pirate or piracy. Hijacking involves the takeover of a vessel by a hostile entity, either to extort a ransom from the owners or to sell the vessel and cargo on the black market. While this may be accomplished by taking the vessel by force, often the hijacking takes place with little to no violence. Ships unlocked and unattended at spaceports and cargo yards are easy targets for pirates who simply slip on board and take the ship before the crew or security can respond. However, there are cases where force is used to disable the victim's vessel and board in order to take control. These are highly dangerous and unpredictable situations for both the victims and the criminals, escalating quickly to lethal force being utilized by the boarding party on anyone they deem a threat. Once the vessel and the crew are subdued, both will likely be held separately for ransom. One payment to return the crew, another to return the ship. Historically, there are cases of crews being held for years while companies and governments negotiated to secure their release. Looting. While a relatively rare form of piracy, it is by far the most dangerous and the most violent. In these situations, rather than extracting a payment from the victim or absconding with the ship, the target is only the vessel's cargo. Pirates will inflict catastrophic damage to the victim's vessel in order to board the wreckage and take what they find. Concern for the lives of the crew is non-existent, and those who have survived an initial attack are at great risk of further violence. While looting tends to be the most violent, any encounter with pirates can turn deadly in seconds. Your response in the first few moments of a pirate encounter could quite literally be the difference between life and death. It is important to understand that as terrible of a crime as piracy is, it is, at the end of the day, a business. While pirates may have no qualms about using violence when necessary, often they are able to obtain what they want without firing a shot. And that's how most prefer it. Like any business, pirates are motivated by profit. They seek to minimize risk to themselves and maintain the reputation of their brand. Often, that reputation is not based strictly on how violent the group can be. Pirates, especially those who operate extortion rackets, want to be known for keeping their word. In other words, if you pay us, we're telling the truth that we will let you go. This helps ensure passive compliance by the next victim rather than having that victim fight back out of desperation. These are key points to keep in mind when we talk about how we counteract piracy later in the series. So far, we have covered the three primary types of piracy: extortion, ransom, and looting. We have identified that pirates are operating an illicit business and are motivated by profit and greed. In the next video in the series, we will look at some common tactics, techniques and procedures utilized by pirates in the verse. We will look at the specific equipment and ships commonly utilized for piracy, and then explore a number of pre-attack indicators which may inform you of an imminent pirate attack. Until then, industrial workers of the verse, fly safe.